Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And finally, here we are. Let me start my presentation, which is talking about the relationship between the corporate social responsibility and the financial performance of the firms which is listed on the UAE Stock Exchange. So basically, we are going to talk about the outlines that supposed to be covered in this presentation. What is the rationale behind this research? The theoretical background of mine. What's the needs of the research, the aims and objectives, the main question of the research, the hypothesis, design, methodology, the main findings, and finally the conclusion and the recommendation. So this is the rationale behind my research, that we came to know that corporate social responsibility, or CSR, is a very important field recently. And so many authors from different fields have been conducting various researches to explore the importance of this field. And this is why I aim to understand this relationship between both of them, the CSR and the financial performance of the company, especially for the firms which is listed on the UAE exchange stock. I would like also to gain deeper understanding of the relationship between both of them. What is the main CSR practices that has been adopted in UAE? What is the available studies neglected or available to study this relationship? So here is the main findings between the authors. Some of the authors or scholars, they said that yes, there is a relationship, a positive relationship between CSR and the financial performance. However, some others, they said no, there is a negative relationship between both of them. The rest, they said no, there is no relationship at all between both of them. So one of the most important in terms of the positive relationship is Freeman in 1984. For the negative relationship was the Friedman on 1970, and so many of them was talking about there is no relationship, like Ullman 85 and Vander on 2008. Here is my theoretical framework. I based on certain author who was called Carroll. His frame actually, which was consists of 4 categories. He proposed a certain framework in 1991, and he said that the CSR based on 4 categories or 4 layers, 4 steps, something like that. And this framework actually, it was the base of my theory, my thesis, and also it was the base of the most frameworks for the other authors. It was the standard for the most studies. It was considered the first endeavors to design the model of the CSR. The majority of the research cited used this well-known definition or this well-known framework. It differentiated the firm's responsibility from the government's responsibility and from also the profits making in between the firms. Here is the available studies. What is the limitation of the available studies? The available studies were unable to view the CSR as a vehicle to value creation and also to financial performance. So we would like to check whether there is really a positive relationship or there is no relationship at all between these two hubs. The most of the studies did not present coherent theoretical framework for selecting the determinants, and the available studies do not provide meaningful way for integrating both quantitative and qualitative methods in both of them. Recently, ethical investment has been associated with all the CSR practices and activities. My aim and objectives is to gain deeper understanding of this association, to examine the current literature reviews, to develop the value creation and financial performance conceptual framework, evaluate the relevance of the CSR practices, and to figure out the types and the nature of the association between both of them. This is my main question. What are the CSR determinants in the UAE firms? What are the CSR determinants that have significant effects in terms of the firms? what is the association between CSR and the financial performance, and what is the significant CSR predictor, and what are the characteristics of the new conceptual framework that has been developed by mine. These are my hypotheses. I have made like a general hypothesis, and then I have formed like 4 other sub-hypotheses. So the main hypothesis of mine was whether CSR practices are associated with the financial performance and the value creation of the company or not. And these are the 4 other sub-hypotheses, as long as I based on 4 categories. So this is why I have checked these 4 categories, whether they have a relationship with the CSR or not. So the first category was regarding the corporate governance of the company. Second category was regarding the economic situation of the company, and then the environment, and the last one regarding the social. So these are my 4 categories that my thesis is based on. Here is the first hypothesis as an example. I would like to check, this is my main hypothesis, I would like to check for the first hypothesis, which is, let me say, for example, corporate governance, has a certain effect over the financial performance or not. And we could check the financial performance, actually for mine, at least for my thesis, I have checked the financial performance of the company by certain indicators, like financial indicators, including the price-to-book ratios, return on assets, return on equity, and the share price. So, and also I have used some moderating variables. What is the CSR spending in the firms? What is the CSR indicators used? And what is the size of the firm, of the company itself? They were used as a moderating variables. So here is my independent variable, here is my dependent variable, and this is my moderating variable. This is my research design. It seems to be very complex, but I used to deal with it as long as I was studying for almost 5 years in this design. So I started with my introduction, and then I have covered literature review, which was very prolonged and detailed. It was consist even from 2 pieces, 2 parts. And then I have classified my CSR practices to 4 groups, as I told you: corporate governance, social, environmental, economic, and so on. And then I have designed my framework. Then I started with my questionnaire. I have made my questionnaire by myself. And then I have given it to a lot of respondents. It was almost about 40 companies. And then I have analyzed it, and I collect the data, analyzed the data, and I came to certain results and findings, and then was my conclusion and discussion. This is my design, and these are my findings. Actually, I came to know that, yes, there is a certain relationship between some variables in terms of the corporate governance. So CG here is abbreviation for the corporate governance. The EC is for economic, E and V for environment, and the S for the social. So I came to know at the end that, yes, there is a certain relationship between these 4 categories and the corporate social responsibility. However, not all of the determinants that I have used, some of them. So these are the findings, and this is the other findings, as long as I have used like so many indicators in terms of the financial performance, 4 indicators, and this is why the findings has been different from indicator to indicator. This is the association. I have made like so many kinds of the data analysis, association, one of them, and this is the result. This is my prediction test process. I start with the dependent variable, which is here is my independent variable, consists of these 4 categories: corporate governance, economic, environment, social, and then I have checked the result, whether there is a significance or not. In case that the result is lower than 0.05, that means there is a significance, and yes, we have bothered the moderating variables and check the result. In case that the significance is lower than, is greater than 0.05, that means there is no significance at all, and we have to start from beginning back again. This is the results, which is very complex in terms of explaining, just so many results, figures, numbers, could be for the specialized person. And this is my conceptual, that is my emerged conceptual framework. And here is, you see here is my 4 categories. I have checked my independent variables, okay, which is the CSR through 4 categories: corporate governance, economic, environment, and social. And I have checked whether it has certain effect over the financial performance and value creation of the company or not. And then I came to know what is the result. This is my limitation of my research. Actually, I have faced so many limitations, especially in dealing with the companies. Most of the people are unable to differentiate between the philanthropic and CSR. So I couldn't just convince the respondents what is the difference between these 2 fields. And the answer was suffering from subjectivity. The difference between the firm size was so many huge, because some firms consist of only 100 employees. Some other firms consist of, let me say, 1,000 or even 10,000. So a huge difference between the sizes of the firms. The reporting time was very short, actually. I've got the response from the respondents in few days. So even the reporting time, they have checked the indicators, the financial indicators of the company for only 1 year. So could be for the other scholars, they could study this effect in terms for, let me say, more than 1 year. The cross-section of the sample was consisting of 10 sectors only, and we could cover more than 10 sectors in the country. This is my conclusion. There are many issues supposed to be considered, like the industry type, and the market trust, the multinationality of the company. I could use, or somebody else could use, another financial performance indicators, like, for example, token Q is one of the most important financial performance indicators. EVA, MVA is one of the most also. I have to consider, or somebody else could supposed to consider the firm size, increasing the sample size, and they could use more CSR practices or variables. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening to me, and that's it.